The NRA has always been a supporter of hunting, but the past few weeks, there's been a new campaign designed to promote hunting. Let's take a look.
It is the dream of the animal rights fanatics to suppress your most natural connection to the earth, to sell you a life filled with urban fascinations, to ignore that death is life's unwavering partner, together creating a relationship between predator and prey that makes it possible for us all to survive. To the hunter, this world's most honest steward, these fantasies are the poisonous, perverted manipulations of social misfits who would take this planet hostage. They should startle you and awaken you to trust the hunter in your blood.
NRA Chief of Staff Josh Powell, and somebody I consider a friend, joins us live to tell us more. What's going on, Josh?
Hey, thanks for having me. I think the last time we saw each other was in Atlanta.
Yes, in Atlanta at the good old annual meetings. I thought was one of the best ones, at least that I've experienced thus far.
Absolutely, it's fabulous. What do we have? 82,000 people there. I think it was one of the second largest attendances we've ever had. Second time we've had a sitting president with us. Is just unbelievable attendance. A lot of excitement, a lot of pride. Exciting time for the NRA.
Absolutely. Now, so let's talk about hunting. So I thought the NRA was a gun group. I'm pretty sure some people would say. Why are we stepping up to support hunting?
Well, the NRA has been involved. The NRA has been involved in protecting hunting rights, pushing out boundaries for making lands more accessible for over 30 years. It's something probably that we need to let people know a little bit more about. And there's been this quiet undercurrent of, frankly, all these animal rights groups that have been continually pushing back, pushing on our rights, creating this aura that hunters are abnormal, that we're not normal to go out and do what, very frankly, is built into our DNA. And the NRA now is going to hold these groups in check.
Gotcha. So for a lot of people, they think, when they think animal groups, they think groups like PETA, and they're like, oh, they just want to save the animals. And by and large, I personally think they've become weaponized. And what do you think is going to be the biggest driver of preventing groups like that from basically decimating the ability of hunting, as far as hunting is concerned? Because it seems like some people would look at the two groups being counterintuitive in sense of, the PETA, they just want to save animals who in their minds are being unrightfully treated. But in reality, at least from my perspective, I feel like PETA is doing a little bit above and beyond that and doing things a little bit that are more sinister than what most people give them credit for.
These groups, PETA, you mentioned, Ingrid Newkirk, HSUS, Wayne Pacelli, these groups have been weaponized for a number of years, as you talk about. This has been going on for a quarter of a century, frankly, they have been working within our school systems from cradle to grave to educate our children to somehow make it that hunters, in fact, are not normal, that we are the strange people out there. And this has been going on for a very long time. These people are funded to the tune of $1 billion a year. They took down SeaWorld. They took down Barnum and Bailey. They are very frankly against everything as hunters that we stand for. And this is something that it really has gone largely unchecked. And the NRA now is standing up and fighting against these groups. And that what you've seen now is the beginning of that. And there really needs to be they need to be exposed for exactly what they are. And they're frankly a bunch of crazies.
No, and I largely agree with you.
At best.
I grew up thinking these type of groups were rather harmless. As I've gotten older and started to understand some of the antics and some of the things they engage in and some of their principles, they largely concern me, because I have to ask the question, like, how did we get to the point now where the idea of hunting for your food became a bad thing, or just hunting in general, considering we've been doing it since we've been on this planet?
It's a question I ask myself every day. I mean, this is built into our DNA. The idea that, what I love is, hey, come on up to Brooklyn and we can all sit down and have the farm-to-table dinner. I realize that's a really cool thing for everybody now. We've been doing this for a while. I invite you to come and do it for real. I find it incredibly strange. It's very twisted. The logic makes no sense, and we completely agree with your thoughts.
Yeah. So now, like from a hunting perspective, I've hunted before. I don't do it often, not because I don't want to, but just limited time and availability and access, so to speak. But I've always noticed that there has always been a reverence for the animals that are hunted that never gets communicated to the larger population of people who don't know anything about hunting.
Yeah, look, in my family, I grew up hunting since I was 6 years old. And it's a big deal when you decide that you're going to take the life of an animal. For our family, it's a very serious thing. And to be able to take that animal, and have dinner with it and prepare it, very frank, I think we slow down and we take our time a little bit more and recognize, that we've slowed down a little bit. And I think that the world, as you know, has become a very fast food marketplace. And so the idea that hunters take their game and harvest very seriously, it's a very serious thing, and I think that most hunters live by that code.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions about hunting that has kind of permeated the discussion about hunting in America?
I think there seems to be a misconception that we all go out in our woods and go crazy with our guns, which is by far not the case. And hunters have done more for conservation in this country than any other organization. If you look at all the wetlands that have been saved, all the federal lands that have been preserved, all of this has come through pressure from hunting groups, starting back with Teddy Roosevelt. This has been a long time coming, and it's a huge misconception. Yeah. That hunters don't care deeply about the earth, deeply about animals. We love puppies and kittens too. We just have a different viewpoint of who's in charge, and we think we are.
Absolutely. Now, when you say hunters have largely been the biggest advocates for conservation, how do you explain that to someone who sees that as counterintuitive, considering they look at it from the standpoint of, well, you're killing an animal, so you're not conserving them?
Yeah, look, there's many misconceptions around hunters. Typically speaking, when you can sit down with, Joe American public and explain to them, where we come from, what our values are, what our morals are, how groups like DU have saved wetlands across this country, how we deal with our animals after we harvest them, what happens to when you cull an animal population, properly. All of that, North American management style. When you sit down and really explain to people, they get it. It resonates. Part of the problem is we have not been out there discussing exactly where we came from, who we are, what our values are, and that's what we've changed now. We're at the beginning of that discussion. We've launched this campaign. You're seeing it on national television the past 3 weeks, and we're getting a tremendous reaction from the hunting community.
Awesome. Now, going forward, what is this initiative going to look like? What can we expect from this hunting initiative going forward?
This initiative, we are at the tip of the spear here. This initiative is going to go nationwide. You'll see a large social media push. You'll see a giant education in terms of exactly who these people are that we are up against every day. There'll be a large component in terms of hunting education. We'll be launching that online the fourth quarter of this year. So this is step one of probably about 10 that we're going to unveil over the next 24 months. But we are here to stay. The NRA has put its fist in the ground, and we're here.
Absolutely. And before we go to a quick break, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge with this hunting initiative?
I think the biggest challenge is like you said, there's been many years that have gone on where people have this misconception around exactly who we are, what our values are, what we do every day, why we love this sport, why, the idea of going out and harvesting your own animals, we are food to table. And I think it's really getting that message out. When you sit down and have a conversation with a normal human being, or any human being, I should say, for that matter, this is built in our DNA as hunters. So when you have a conversation, it's pretty natural for people to go, okay, I understand that, because it's who we are.
Yeah.
We haven't made this up.
Nope, absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Josh about Carry Guard.